Another season 12 episode is here, and get ready to level up your mindset and gain new tips for success with this entrepreneur. I am fortunate enough to have interviewed 5 incredible founders from the UK so far, and today marks our 6th trip across the pond. After spending his first 28 years becoming an expert at avoiding public speaking, presenting, and in fact, speaking to groups of more than 2 or 3 people, he knows firsthand how far this fear can hold you back. In today's episode, you will walk away with a lot, including getting help to overcome your fear of speaking, building your confidence online, on camera, and in person, and developing your powerful presentation skills. No matter which industry you are in, this directly relates to you. And as a speaker, I am personally always looking to grow. So recently, we had Robbie Crabtree join us with tons of advice, and expect the same from Tom. But you know what comes first. Before I bring him on, we are going to learn exactly how he podcasts. Tom, which platform do you stream your shows through?
First of all, thank you so much, Vincent. So I'm fully wedded to all things Apple. So I do, in fact, listen to my podcasts through the Apple podcast platform.
I try to stay with Apple as well. I mentioned sometimes Spotify does the Wrapped Up, which I think is really cool. And I get that for this podcast. People who listen to it on Spotify, I get the wrap up there, but I am an Apple guy as well. Are you into the Apple Plus, the new feature out with the show Ted Lasso that's been out? Everybody's talking about.
Not seen it yet, no. But anything else? The laptops, the AirPods, tablets, all that stuff. Yeah,
me as well. So when in the day do you typically listen to your podcasts?
So podcasting for me is first thing in the morning. It helps me get that motivation I need to start the day in the right way.
It's a very good idea right there. Sometimes you need to push in the right direction, and this is a good way to do it. Hopefully this episode will provide the same for our listeners. Now, do you listen in the gym in the morning? Are you listening in the car?
Yeah, sometimes in the car on the way to the gym, and then obviously continue listening to it when I'm working out.
All right, so that is how Tom Bailey podcasts. I would love to hear how you do as well. Email me info@vincentalancy.com, and I will feature you in an episode. It is time for another episode of That Entrepreneur Show. Thank you for joining us. I am your host, Vincent A. Lancy, and you could find more about me at Vincent A. Lancy across all social media, YouTube, or my website is vincentalancy.com. If this is your first time sitting down with us right now, each week since December 2019, I have interviewed the founder of a company or brand to share what has worked for them, what they needed to improve on, and all of their learning lessons along the way right here on this show. There are also bonus episodes for you to enjoy as well. You never know which motivational journey will inspire you most. They'll take you through their story, help you learn from their successes and lessons learned. And today we have Tom streaming in from England, United Kingdom. And after looking at what he has to offer, there's certainly a lot there. I already mentioned a few takeaways you'll walk away with, but here are some more. How to amplify your authority, even if you don't have a following. How to get your message to market with confidence and clarity. How to become a fearless speaker without jumping in at the deep end. And also how to leverage the oldest, most proven marketing method in the world. Get ready to learn all of that and more, as he is the founder of Succeed Through Speaking. And this will help you further your career. Like I said, no matter the industry, you need to speak one way or the other. Let's bring him on to learn his journey, some tools for success, and so much more. Tom Bailey. Tom, thank you for reaching out and joining this community of entrepreneurs.
Awesome, Vincent. Thank you so much for having me, for such a warm introduction. And I'm super excited to have this conversation and see where it takes us.
I'm excited as well to learn your journey and pass that along to our audience. Would you mind introducing yourself a little more on the personal side to our audience before we dive into business talk?
Of course. So I'm sure we'll get into this a lot more, but as you mentioned, I became an expert at avoiding public speaking. And that's because I had a crippling fear of speaking, social anxiety, and ultimately it held me back in life, in my job, in my career, relationships, in business. And it's a long story, but to cut to the chase, I went on a bit of a transformational journey managed to overcome my fear of speaking, and it's completely transformed every aspect of my life. And now I help share that message with my clients as well.
People can feel, they can see if you're confident, if you're not confident, if you're prepared. Speaking, it goes a long way, because I think the number one fear, or at some point it was public speaking, not skydiving, not all these crazy things.
Yeah, that's it.
So
Yeah,
we're
and
gonna
it is. It's a huge fear for people, and it typically comes down to, what if I embarrass myself? What if I make a mistake? What if the technology fails on me? What if people have opinions of me, or if they ask a question I can't answer it? So it's a lot of these things which come into our heads, and ultimately just stops us from taking action.
I can relate with that as well. You have to get outside your comfort zone, get there, put yourself in the situation to win, and you're already halfway there. Tom already
Absolutely.
shared with us how he tried to avoid public speaking forever. That's what he wanted to do, but something must have changed. Something must have happened. Please describe what pushed you over to the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, of course. So there's always a breaking point, isn't there? There's always a trigger. So there were two things for me. One, I was made redundant. I went through redundancy in a job. The whole company moved to a different country, so we were all made redundant. That was one thing. And from there, I really struggled to actually land another job because of my fear of interviewing and fear of speaking and presenting. So that was something that said to me, you need to change this. Another thing, a lot more personal, was I was asked to speak at a close family member's funeral, and I said no because I was just too scared. I might embarrass myself, and that's something I've always looked back and regretted. And that for me really pushed me to wanting to overcome this fear of speaking I had.
It's interesting. A personal moment like that was enough. You had to get yourself in the right direction. Very interesting. I wasn't expecting that's where you're going to come from with becoming a public speaker, but I'm glad you did, because of all the service you are providing to others. It's a perfect example right there. If you want to learn something, if you don't know something, just step outside your comfort zone and ask, because look how far it could take you. This guy's running such a successful business now across the pond. But now that you're on your own here, Tom, what are some of the hardest parts of being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, and I'll talk about what we do as a business in a moment, but there's two things which were the most difficult things for me when I eventually did make that leap into entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
Because, by the way, after I did eventually overcome my fear of speaking, I went on to land a standard corporate job, worked my way up to leadership level. I was working 9 to 5. So one of the hardest things about becoming an entrepreneur was walking away from that monthly paycheck, that regular
Yeah.
income,
Oh,
which
yeah.
covers your bills, your mortgage, your food, your holidays. And so moving to entrepreneurship, that was pretty scary. And I think the second thing is the vulnerability to be able to say, this is me, this is what I do, this is my business. Because ultimately opening yourself up to criticism, judgment, other people's opinions. So I think they're the two big things for me.
You learn once you put yourself out there that the real people who will bash you or tear you down are people who would not do what you're doing. And that's the way I
Yeah,
look at it. You don't remember all the great reviews you get. You remember the one or two bad ones, and stick with your message, stay confident. You have to understand not everybody is your target customer. As much as you
exactly.
want to please everyone, your product and service is not for everyone. Now, please share one of your greatest lessons learned or failures with our audience to learn from.
Of course. So the biggest lesson for me looking back is, and it actually comes from a quote from Michael Jordan. I think a few other people have said it as well, but the quote was, "You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." And what he meant by that is, ultimately you need to be taking some shots, even if you're going to miss a few of them. It's okay to start taking those shots. And
Yep.
the reason I say that, I'll just go back to my story a little bit more.
Please, yes.
During my time learning to overcome my fear of speaking, I actually launched about 5 different businesses. Now, the problem was I never got one customer because I was too scared to actually tell anybody about these businesses. And I built the logo, I got the business cards printed, I had my leaflets, built my website, but ultimately I never actually promoted those businesses, so I moved on to the next one. And for me, lesson learned, I wish back then I would have just put that business out there, taken a few shots earlier, opened myself up to that criticism, and really learned from those early mistakes, and I would have got here a lot quicker.
What kind of business was it?
So I launched a business in property. I launched a business in graphic design. I had another one in business coaching, even though I wasn't running a business at the time. So yeah, there's all sorts of little ideas I had. But ultimately, again, I didn't have the confidence to go out there and say, this is me, this is what I do. So I put them on the shelf, and then I started building another business because it was a good distraction technique at the time, I think.
I'm typing that note as you say. I love how you put it there. You didn't have the confidence, so you kind of put it on the shelf and you moved on. Now looking back, would you rather be in one of those areas, or you love what you're doing now? You want to be here, right now?
Absolutely love what I'm doing now. I think my journey has led me to this point, and that's why I can be so authentically passionate about what I do, because I was my first client and I overcame my fear of public speaking, and that's what I help my clients to do as well now.
If you do something yourself or you've been through it yourself, people are going to be much more attracted to you because you've experienced it. Was his first client. You hear that, everybody? Solved his public speaking fear. He can do the same for you. Stick around to the end of the episode to find out exactly how to get in touch with Tom. I'm going to delve a little deeper into his brain. If you could sit down and learn from any entrepreneur worldwide, dead or alive, who you got?
I think the big three for me are Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, and Richard Branson. But if I was to pick one, it would have to be Richard Branson for me.
Let's hear
If I
why.
think of the word, if I think of the word entrepreneur straight away, I think Richard Branson. You know, the amount of businesses created. I think he's worth something like $5 billion now.
He's
He's
somewhere in
just
space, right?
incredible
Hanging out.
entrepreneur. Absolutely, and they're already hanging out in space.
All right, so let's delve deeper then, even more so. Where are you sitting down with Mr. Branson? If you could pick the location.
I wouldn't mind an invite to Necker Island, where he's based. I wouldn't mind a little invite out there. I know he's got a great life, surrounded by wildlife and nature and sports. Yeah, I'll go and spend a couple of days out there with him.
All right, now we're going to look into the future for you, Tom. What are you working on right now? What's on the horizon in the future for Tom Bailey?
So big shift for me is over the past few years, I've always done one-to-one coaching. So, I work with my client, I hold their hand, I bring them on that journey with me. Big opportunity for me now. I'm actually launching this next week, is my first group coaching program. So I'll be taking a group of entrepreneurs and helping them to build their confidence so that they can raise their profile as a speaker and ultimately attract more clients into their business.
All right. Well, that link will be in the episode bio. Everything you need to find about Tom, his group coaching, his individual coaching. Be sure to scroll down in the episode bio and fill it out. How often are you going to plan on doing these group sessions?
So they will be a new cohort every 12 weeks. So I'll be running this one for 12 weeks, and then I'll be launching the next cohort. And hopefully, this will be my life for the next few years now.
Hey, you found what you're passionate about. Now it's time to put all that hard work to good use. Put yourself out there and make it happen. Thank you for sharing your ambition, because that surely will inspire everyone that's tuning in today.
Absolutely.
If it's not your first time with us, it's time for the Spotlight Story. If it is, this is where I share the entrepreneurial journey of a fellow entrepreneur to inspire you, the listeners, and we get our guest take on it. As we have a rock star entrepreneur from the United Kingdom on the show today, we're going to share another in Peter Jones, who is a prolific UK business entrepreneur, and he's most famous for his role in the BBC TV series Dragon's Den. When the article was written, he was worth an estimated £485 million, but it was not always plain sailing for him. A few bad decisions in his late 20s cost Peter his business, home, and ended up sleeping on the warehouse floor. You're about to learn how he climbed back, and in 2002, he was named Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year by The Times and Ernst & Young. And then later in 2009, he gained a CBE for his services to business, enterprise, and young people. So as you could tell, very accomplished, but he lost focus. He displayed an ambition streak when he was young. He used to visit his father's office, sit in his chair to daydream of saying, I'm going to be a millionaire one day. He soon had the early interest in computers, where he was building them. And then in his late teens, he started selling them for small profits. He even started to diversify with these profits, got a cocktail bar, but soon enough, he lost millions of pounds. And as the article says, everything he owned. It wasn't then until 28 years old where, again, as the article puts, he picked himself up off the floor, distributed his CV, and then bagged himself a job at a corporate business where somehow, and only a year later, he was in charge. He soon went on in his entrepreneurial spirit to create Phones International Group in 1998 that had a whopping 14 million worth of sales in just the first year of business. His portfolio has got over 40 different investments, a wide range of industries. This is a good lesson for everybody. You want to diversify yourself. And he is the only remaining original Dragon's Den personality since this series began back in 2005. He was on the show investing even in businesses like Wonderland Magazine, Square Mile International, The Generating Company, but he showed grit to win in business. Tom, I'm hoping you have some feedback on this article, maybe even something that's not in the article, as you may have known.
Absolutely. So in the UK, we love watching Dragon's Den, especially us entrepreneurial types. And yeah, Peter Jones is just such a character. And I think from that story in particular, that ability to bounce back. So, you know, he lost it all, built it all, lost it all, built it all, got a job, built another business. It's just that ability to keep moving forward. And I think that's really important for entrepreneurs. There will be times when you fail. There'll be times when you make mistakes. There'll be times when you lose it all. But keep moving forward, keep having that ambition, and ultimately you'll reach your goals eventually.
Now, what is Dragon's Den for us in America?
I think you've got something like in the US called Shark Tank.
I was going to ask, is that what it is? Okay, so yours was first, actually.
They pitch, yeah, exactly. 2005, I think it was. They pitch ideas.
I don't think we were that early, no.
No, get feedback and then hopefully get some investment. Yeah, it's cool. I love it.
Yeah, I love that. Love your analysis. And I want to thank you so much, Tom, for coming on the show. Loved everything you said, even how you were your own first client. You solved your fear of public speaking. Congratulations on that, because I see how far it's taken you. I enjoyed how you had the courage and shared your vulnerable moments with the property, the graphic design, the business coaching. But all of those lessons learned led you to where you are right now, running new group cohorts every 12 weeks. Now we're going to find out exactly how to find those cohorts, his website, all that, after he delivers his last word.
So I think last word for me is don't feel like you have to go too quick. So what I mean by that is if you have got a fear of speaking, don't think about speaking on global stages day one. Just like learning to ride a bike or learning to swim, start in the shallow end, start on that baby bike and then slowly, gradually make progress until one day you'll be on a global stage speaking in front of a global audience. Well said. Now, how can everybody find you? So all things Google Succeed Through Speaking, and we've got the Succeed Through Speaking webpage, Succeed Through Speaking podcast, and we've also got Succeed Through Speaking across all social media channels. So pop that into Google and I'll pop up on your first page, no doubt. Be sure to check out all his great content. Reach out to say hello. And if you want to kill your fear of public speaking, he may be the guy for you. And while you're on the internet, be sure to check us out too at That Entrepreneur Show across social media. On Twitter, we're at Podcast by Lancey, so you get updates from every show. I'm at Vincent A. Lancey across social media, YouTube, and my website is vincentalancey.com. If you check out my books, DM me. I'd love to hear your support. Thank you. And the latest book is, of course, Mental Health Week. Let's end the show with a quote. We're getting this one from Peter Jones. I've got my own businesses I run every day, and I like to think I'm a nurturer rather than a firer. But the reality is, if someone continues not to succeed and do the right thing for the business, they lose the job because they are affecting the livelihoods of others. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week on That Entrepreneur Show. Tom, thank you for joining us. Thanks again.